Hi, I'm Marcia Anita Hobbs, aka Marcia B. Noose Fashion Designer, a student of Graduate Certificate in Policy and Governance and a lover of politics and law. We have just had the release of the Royal Commission into Domestic Violence in South Australia, and I've had the privilege of writing a project on it, which, as boring as politics can be sometimes, I feel that it would be worth sharing with one of you, all of you, otherwise. Okay, so taxpayers ultimately fund the Royal Commission. I'm sure that everybody understands that fact. Evidently, we had an ex-politician, Natasha Stott-Despoja, who oversaw this Royal Commission. She was the commissioner of the Royal Commission held in South Australia. Now, domestic violence has been a big thing federally. It was part of budget. It was part of the election. It's been part of discussions, petitions, protests, mass movements, especially over the last half a decade, and with a massive increase of murder despite awareness. Now, again, a Royal Commission is funded by the public taxpayer. So I put it forward, what was the impact going to be for a domestic violence Royal Commission having on DV incidents in South Australia. Now, this project was based a lot on research, modern research, up-to-date research, 2024, as well as a couple of previous examples in regards to domestic violence data. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because prior to Royal Commission, without any money spent, the government had access to all of this data. So, with access to all of this data...
2, 1.
Okay, so let's get into some of that data now. We've got a police say domestic violence has played a role in a 69% rise in the number of reported murders in South Australia. 22 murders were reported across South Australia April 2023 to March 2024. A 69% increase from the 13 murders 1 year prior. Now, this was accessible data. This data has been available since 2024. Okay, an analysis of 2025. So after Royal Commission has suggested the prevalence of intimate partner violence has not declined. Okay, so we've got federal concern. We've got state concern. We've got public awareness. We've got a Royal Commission. Now, remember, a Royal Commission doesn't achieve anything unless all recommendations are implemented via Parliament and legislated. So policy or legislation. You want to somehow resolve the issue of domestic violence. Now, we do know that majority of domestic violence is men against women. Now, personally, I have heard stories of women who have been targeted by men that are quite larger than them, a couple that could possibly be recorded on some audio or video that SAPOL may have in their possession, or VicPol, one of the two. She was a lovely, lovely lady. Anyway, speaking to her, she stated that her partner had offended against her a year beforehand. Now, he waited a year, everybody, before he decided to, as a domestic violence offender who has now been charged with police, before he decided to get back at her and stated that she was the domestic violence offender. So then a year later, she's seen herself in jail. Now, it's quite a controversial issue that somebody can be put through and noted as a domestic violence offender, yet that does not register in any other court discussions around family violence. And again, it was a story that I've prevalently heard in South Australia as well. I have seen too a turning of domestic violence abuse due to police human resource data. So, out of the whole Royal Commission, we have the basic data that I gave you prior to, data that's been discussed with individuals of the South Australian public and the Victorian public possibly as well. Had a lot of conversations with a lot of women, and again, I thank you very much for your time. You're so brave. You're fucking amazing. Now, with all of this information at hand, the Royal Commission spoke to around less than 1,000 people to collect data for South Australia on a subject which is national, it's broadly researched, and evidently at this stage is showing no data of a decline. Now, that is because persons of this generation are actually reporting domestic violence more readily, which in my mother's generation, I believe my generation is reporting domestic violence quite well, but my mum's generation, they wouldn't report domestic violence very much. And then before that, it was very much absent in reporting at all. So we can explain generational increase in reports of domestic violence. And we know that there's no amount of Royal Commission nor extra data that's going to change a population and generational increase. So, again, out of this Royal Commission, what are we going to see? Now, I've seen a big, thick book. It looks quite pretty, you know, a fair few tax dollars have been spent on printing that and putting it out there. So I'm hoping that this Royal Commission is a rip-bang result for South Australia, and especially for the women of South Australia. I understand domestic violence is not gender-based, but the homicide increase seems to be. So, like I said, this is your readily available data, and as well as general information that probably media or journalists could have collected without a Royal Commission. So, if we get a Royal Commission that results in a lack of a legislation, policy, regulation, and implementation, has this Royal Commission been propaganda, or has it actually impacted the predicted climate of domestic violence across Australia and isolating that to South Australia with these formal submissions and interviews? I hope so. We will see. That stated data says otherwise.